Welcome to this video provided by the MEA Windows Server Competency Club. My name is Manfred Helber and I'm a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional in the category Cloud and Data Center. In this video, I will show you the capabilities of Windows Admin Center regarding Azure Arc and Azure Monitor. If you want to have more insights and more videos and content from the MEA Windows Server Competency Club, I recommend you to join the MEA Competency Club on LinkedIn via linkedin.com/groups/9049325. Let's start with the Windows Admin Center and hybrid services. Windows Admin Center is our tool installed on premises with a web-based graphical user interface that enables us to manage Windows Server and Windows Client operating systems and also to configure hybrid services for our environment. It starts with Azure Arc. We will talk about Azure Arc in a few minutes. We have additional services like Azure Backup, Azure File Sync, Azure Site Recovery, Network Adapters, Monitor, Update Management, Security Center, and Extended Networking. Azure Backup and Azure Site Recovery is covered in another video, and also the Azure Security Center or Defender for Endpoint is covered in another video. Let's start with the Azure Arc capabilities. Azure Arc was introduced more than 2 years ago at a Microsoft Ignite conference. And Azure Arc is a service that provides us capabilities across different data centers. So Azure Arc can be used for services we are running in Azure. It can be used for services we are running in other clouds, can be used for services we are running at the edge, and it can be used for services we run on any hardware for Windows Server or for Azure Stack HCI systems. The great thing about Azure Arc is that we can use Azure Arc to manage these target systems from a central point from the Windows Admin Center. So let's have a look at the architecture of Azure Arc, because we have first the Azure Admin. So I will be the Azure Admin in the next live demo, and I will use the Azure portal or the Windows Admin Center to deploy the Azure Arc Connected Machine Agent to my servers in my environment. With this Azure Connected Machine Agent, I provide powerful capabilities to my environment to manage these hybrid server systems on premises or in other clouds via the Azure portal and with an authentication via Azure Active Directory. So the interesting thing is we can use our Azure Resource Manager here. We can provide configuration profiles. We can use the log analytics and so on. And we will see these capabilities in the next live demo. So here I'm connected to a Windows Admin Center environment, and I want to connect to a server D114 server 2020. This is my server I want to configure for Azure Arc. If you have seen one of my previous videos about Windows Admin Center, you should already be familiar with the capabilities of Windows Admin Center here at the overview page and other tools. Where I want to focus or highlight here is the installed apps. Let's have a look at the server 22. We can see on this server 22, so the target server I'm actually managing, I don't have an installation of any agent. There's a Microsoft Edge browser because the target system is Windows Server 2022. There we have the Edge browser. There's a Microsoft Edge update. We don't have any agent for Windows Admin Center. So Windows Admin Center works agentless to manage the server, and it uses PowerShell remote and WMI remote for managing and monitoring. So if we get here in our overview different information, so performance data and so on, this is provided remote here. So let's go to the Azure Hybrid Center. Because in the Azure Hybrid Center, I'm able to configure hybrid services for this server 2020 and for every other compatible server in the network. I could also configure these hybrid services via the Azure portal and the manual step-by-step guides, but it's very, very easy to configure these hybrid services with the Windows Admin Center. Actually, there are no hybrid services installed on this machine. So I will go to the available services, and the recommendation is to start with Azure Arc. Let's do this. I will set up Azure Arc. This Windows Admin Center is already connected to Microsoft Azure. If you have never done this, in the MEA Windows Server Competency Club, there's a document available I have written for the MEA Windows Server Competency Club, where I describe how to install Windows Admin Center and how to onboard Windows Admin Center to Microsoft Azure. So you can refer to this step-by-step guide for the first configuration steps. I want to use my subscription as Azure sponsorship, and I want to create a new resource group. It's the MEA Resource Group 02. I want to select my preferred Azure region, so you could also select your preferred Azure region you will use for your services. I will select for West Europe here, and I will click onto Setup. This creates a new resource group and sets up Azure Arc for servers. Here at the notification window, I will see the progress of the Setup Azure Arc for servers. And remember what you have seen on the slide. The slide told you that the Azure Connected Machine Agent will be deployed to the server. So we had a look at the installed apps on this machine. In the installed apps, we will see a new app, and this is the Connected Machine Agent. Let's have a look if this is already there. We can leave this page here because the process is running. So I can switch to the installed apps and check if there's already a new app there. No additional app till now. The setup is still running. Must keep in mind the agent is downloaded via this Windows Admin Center task. I don't have to download it manually, so there are no additional manual steps needed. Everything is set up automatically. Oh, now I can see, yes, set up Azure Arc for servers, successfully set up Azure Arc for services. I can see the details here, and I can refresh my apps list, and I will see, okay, now the Azure Connected Machine Agent is there. So the Windows Admin Center does not need any agent on the target server, but Azure Arc needs this agent. And this agent is very, very powerful. We will see this in a few seconds when we have a look at the Azure portal. Now let's go to the Azure Hybrid Center. And I will see that Azure Arc now is configured. Takes a moment till this page is loaded. So it is loading the Azure Arc status. And when I switch to installed services, I can see Azure Arc for servers is configured. I can manage in Windows Admin Center, and I can view the server in Azure, and I can read the documentation. Let's select the option View Server in Azure. Now the Azure portal opens. The great thing here is that this deep link in Windows Admin Center opens the direct page for this server 2020 here. Let's see what I can do here. I have information about this server. I have information about the name of the server here. I can see operating system is Windows Server 2022 standard. This is the computer name. And keep in mind, we are in the Azure portal. This is Azure. This was Windows Admin Center. Now we are in the Azure portal. And we have access to our local server. We have an activity log where we can see what has changed on this machine. So the last action was to provide the connected machine agent. I can work on the access control to decide who has access to this resource. We can add additional tags. We can use diagnose and solve problems. We can configure configure the security, and we will have an additional video about the security settings. And the great thing is now we can configure the security settings and the defender status for this target machine via Azure Arc. We can select to install additional extensions. So extensions can be for this machine, for example, a custom script extension, or the log analytics agent for this machine, or OpenSSH for Windows Azure Arc, or SQL Server extensions for Azure Arc. So this means I can provide these extensions to my target machine. The server 2020 is on premises in my data center, and I can provide these additional activities here via Azure Arc. We can select for the properties of this resource here. We can configure logs to ensure that not everybody has access to this resource, maybe cannot delete this resource. We have the policies here. With policies, we can describe the policy configuration for this machine, and we can check if this machine is compliant regarding to the policies. We can work on the update management for this on-premises machine here. We can have a look at the inventory, but we have to create a log analytics workspace. We will see this in the next step. We can see the change tracking, what has changed on this resource. With the monitoring, the insights, but we will do this in the next step. We have access to the logs when it's configured. We can configure tasks, so automation on the resource, and for sure we can see the resource health. I will go back to the overview because the next step is that we will have a look at the Azure Monitor configuration. Azure Monitor is also very powerful, and it can be configured independently from Azure Arc. I will show this to you, and I will show you both options to configure it via Azure Arc and to configure it manually via Windows Admin Center. Azure Monitor is very powerful because it provides us metrics and logs that can be collected from any server on premises, in a different cloud, or in Azure. And these logs and metric information can be analyzed, they can be visualized, and we can respond on these situations. So metrics typically can be evaluated in the Metrics Explorer, the logs in the Log Analytics, but for sure you can build your own dashboards in Azure Monitor, and you can have a view on the top alerts, including an automated alerting, for example, via email. So let's have a look about how to configure Azure Monitor. I will switch back to the demo environment, and we started in the Windows Admin Center. In the available services, there's an option to configure Azure Monitor. You can see the setup. But I will not start with the Azure Monitor here. I will come back later for the Azure Monitor because Azure Monitor, the configuration here via the Windows Admin Center provides us some very helpful default metrics and default values that will be monitored on this server. I will do the following. Let's have a look at the installed apps. We have seen in the previous step that we installed the Azure Connected Machine Agent when we enabled the server for Azure Arc. Now let's go to the Azure portal. I have still this machine open here. So what I will do in the Azure portal here, I will select the monitoring insights here. Here I can read enable additional monitoring capabilities. Here I will add additional monitoring capabilities. And because this server is Azure Arc enabled, it will be possible to configure the monitoring from within the Azure portal. When I switch back to the installed apps, I can see this the Azure Connected Machine Agent. Even if I refresh, no Log Analytics agent is here. And now I will click on Enable. So I will enable this capability for my D114 SRV 2020. I will use the Azure sponsorship, and I will decide to use the Log Analytics workspace that is here recommended to use. I could also create another one or select another one. I will use this one here, and I click on Enable. So the deployment is submitted and everything works automatically. So the agents are deployed on my on-premises machine. The log information is configured in the Azure portal. And as soon as this process has finished, I will have a lot of additional capabilities. And this is the great situation about Azure Arc. Now we are able to configure and to push additional configurations via the Azure portal. This insights and monitoring capabilities is only a small piece of all what's possible via Azure Arc. So let's have a look at the local machine. Locally, Azure Connected Machine Agent is installed. The Windows Admin Center does not show any notifications, any actions, because now this monitoring configuration is not driven by Windows Admin Center, but it's driven by the Azure portal. So the Azure portal publishes these additional agents via the Azure Connected Machine Agent. So this here is my transportation agent to add these additional agents. Let's refresh here the list, and we can see the first agent is already here. The dependency agent. This was added here. The dependency agent is one of the two agents for the Azure monitoring configuration. Let's refresh again. Maybe it needs some more seconds or minutes. Let's see what happens here from the Azure portal. Deployment to resource group. MEA resource group 02 is in progress. So this is still working. So everything is fine here. Here I have a notification having difficulties enabling Azure monitors for VM. Here I could open the troubleshooting, but I don't expect any issues here. I expect that I will see the log analytics agent here in a few seconds or minutes, and then I will be able to use the capabilities of this additional agent in the Azure portal. So now let's check again if there has something changed. And here we can see now we have an additional agent here. Sorry, it's the live demo page. Now we have an additional agent here on this machine, the D114 Server 22. The installed apps, the Azure Connected Machine Agent was because of Azure Arc, the dependency agent, and the Microsoft Monitoring Agent. These two agents are because of Azure Monitor here. Now let's see what in the Azure portal happens. So the deployment is still in progress. So what I have to expect, or what I will see here, that not all the monitoring information is already provided here. So I have to wait some additional minutes, and then I will be able to access the first monitoring information here via the Azure portal. So now the deployment has finished. I can pin the result to the dashboard, or I can go directly to this resource group here and see what happened here. I have the MEA resource group for the log analytics. I have my server here, and I can see this server is Azure Arc enabled, and this gives, let's say, more power to this server. Let's select the server, and for sure you can add as many servers as you have in your domain to Azure Arc. And now I have in the monitoring insights additional capabilities, because I can see this map here. I didn't configure this map. I can see, okay, there's the server 2020. There are 20 processes on this server. There are 3 clients to this connected to this server. I can see the IP addresses. I can see the processes that are communicating with which port. So let's see, okay, which port is used by which port, or which server is using port 5355. Let's see the server here in the list. and details about this machine. It's the server 21. This uses this port and port 443. These are 12 servers. Let's see the list of these servers that are using this. I can see there are many connectivities to Microsoft here. So this is only one of these great additional capabilities we now have with the monitoring here. We have the map. We also have some performance data. For sure, actually no historical data because I added this system a few seconds ago. But I can see here from this machine, from the Azure portal, the drive sizes, the IOPS read, the IOPS write, the latency. I can see here the CPU utilization, the available memory. I can see the logical disk IOPS, the logical disk megabytes per second. And you must imagine, this is all in the Azure portal. This can be consolidated across your servers you have here. You have this powerful capabilities like latency, bytes received, and so on. We have seen this map where we can get easy insights about what happens on our machine, what connectivities are there. I think you know how hard it is to find this out, to secure a server. And here it's absolutely there. So I can check port 80. Who uses this port 80? Why is this port 80 used? Which connections are there? And so on. Then, for example, I can see here that several connections have failed. So maybe somebody tries to use this connectivity and so on. So really great. So now let's go back to the server. When we go to the installed apps, we already have seen in the Windows Admin Center these additional agents are provided now on the machine. When we go to the Azure Hybrid Center, then we will see Azure Arc is enabled, and I mentioned this is the most powerful and most important agent, and this is the reason why Microsoft recommends to do this first, but it's not required. It would have been possible to configure Azure Monitor without configuring Azure Arc, but the recommendation is it's strongly recommended to onboard Azure Arc to have the full power. When I now go to the installed services, I can see, oh, there's also Azure Monitor there. It's also activated. I never used this Azure Monitor agent here, but with the enabled Azure Arc functionality, I could push this from the Azure portal, and so I can also use this option here to configuring monitoring and alerts from the Azure portal. I can jump directly with this deep link to the Azure portal and can see here my default workspace with all the capabilities around the logging and monitoring of this machine. And I can see actually no alerts here. When I select the Azure Monitor in the tools list on this server, I could decide to provide some additional configuration steps to have some default monitoring values here. Here we can see we have the alert rules. And when I have a look at the alert rules, I can see, okay, the CPU utilization and so on is already configured. This is what's already there. And we could create a new action group. Here there is already action group because I configured this already on other servers in my environment. Usually you will see here a create new, and I will create MEA action group 02, and I will have an email recipient, and this will be manfred@manfredhelber.de. This means that I will receive alerts on this mail address. So this here has been configured automatically. The mail address has to be configured in this alert rules, except you maybe have already configured one via the Azure portal. So I think you have seen great capabilities around Azure Arc and Azure Monitor, and you have seen how easy it is to configure Azure Arc and Azure Monitor via the Windows Admin Center. If you are interested in more insights, especially the video about Azure Backup and Azure Site Recovery, and maybe the video about the endpoint management and the security center, then you are invited to join the MEA Windows Server Competency Club on LinkedIn via linkedin.com/groups/90493.5. So thank you for your time and looking forward to have you also in the next videos from the MEA Windows Server Competency Club. Bye.